WNBA here. It looks like they are expanding to 14 teams with the additions of Bay Area and Toronto. The Bay Area team's going to begin in 25, Toronto in 26 here. But with the growth and popularity of the league, there's also some security concerns here. Connecticut Sun coach Stephanie White said it's nuts. It's night and day, seeing the difference in the crowds that come before and stay after to get autographs to the crowds that are flooding hotel lobbies. Even Cameron Brink is talking about this here. So what other changes do you think that they need to make in order to really address these concerns?
Well, I know, and especially when we were on the road, right? Like we traveled, we had full security detail. This was in college, and also when I was playing in the league, they had it very strict. The access that people had to our floor, even in the lobby, they would have sections of the hotel that people just couldn't come to and approach us surrounding our meeting rooms, etc. And so, as a league that's growing in popularity, they have to consider some of the precautions that maybe weren't necessary. And every league has their diehards, and certainly there were probably people around, but the sheer volume of people now is probably what's startling there. And then even when you're playing at home, right? Like you get some home fans that want to be really involved. I think they have to be careful, and we're going to talk about the charter flights and everything else coming up here, which I think is necessary because the airport crowds are crazy and the travel's a little bit predictable there. But I think everybody's comfort in knowing that they have their own space to just live when they're traveling, when they're playing, I think is really important.
So it's interesting because in terms of like what you do, I'm not entirely sure, right? I'm like not a security expert, but I hear a story like this and I'm like, okay, this is kind of awesome. Like you don't want anybody to feel threatened, obviously, right? But when you talk about the growth of the league, the explosive growth, the massive viewership numbers that we're now seeing, the WNBA expanding the chart, like it does represent a step forward in interest now that you have to be worried about things like this. So again, I definitely want like the correct solution to be found, but the very idea that we need a solution, I think is really cool.
Yeah, my question is, was the W prepared for the rapid growth that this league was going to have? Nobody predicted Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese or some of these other stars like Cameron Brink to have the success that they had and have the national, eyes on them, and for it to impact the W like this. So, are they prepared for the growth? Is what I guess I'm getting at.
I think it's twofold, because I think a lot of people who are sitting back, they could have predicted what was going to happen in terms of the growth of the league. And I think the TV numbers from the NCAA women's tournament and the WNBA draft are evidence of that. But we see how quickly everything's turned around too. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about that tournament, we were talking about the draft, now we're talking about the start of the WNBA season. So it doesn't seem like there would have been a ton of time to really put the pieces in place. The other thing you have to consider too, and I talked about the security detail that we typically traveled with, it ain't cheap. It is expensive, and I think right now they're still probably waiting for some of the dollars to roll in terms of the popularity, right? Like they have, I mean, they're starting the regular season here. And so I think once they get all of that together, you get the money involved, now it becomes a lot easier to say, okay, these are the things that we can do, but maybe a little bit more difficult when you got to figure out how to leverage some assets there to put everything together that they didn't need to before.
Well, I mean, and kind of viewed through that lens, I think these could be described as growing pains, right? I mean, literal league growing pains where, I don't think, 3 or 4 years ago, I don't think many people had this sort of almost overnight explosion of interest on the docket. Like, sure, you'd seen a steady, like, consistent climb, but it was just a myriad of different elements that kind of came together in this perfect storm, and you had these superstars battling, and then now the women's finals outdrawing the men's finals. So again, like, growing pains, it's not ideal. Maybe there's going to be some missteps along the way, but the key word there is growing. Yeah,
and I hope that they don't screw this up, because the W has been waiting for an opportunity like this, and now that it's here and it's presented itself, I hope they take the proper steps to protect their players and really just capitalize on the attention that it's getting right now.
No doubt.
But you can give a huge credit, or a lot of credit to that, thanks to Caitlin Clark and what she was able to do in college and now in the W.